Hello and welcome to Business Sense. I'm Ralph Rivas. For today's episode, we have Martin Koo of Ninjavan. He's the country head of the company. Ninjavan, of course, is a courier service company. In fact, I got a package from Ninjavan just a couple of days ago. Hi, Martin. Thanks for joining us on the show.
Hi, Ralph. Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
Now, first of all, we know already that the pandemic really accelerated demand for deliveries with volume hitting 100, even 150% growth. But how is Ninja Van dealing with the demand?
So it's been an interesting challenge for us, Ralph. The challenges I think in expansion are probably quite clear, right? We have less mobility in this current post-pandemic setting, and it's something that I think the business is constantly looking for new ways to manage, right? So I'll address the question really in two parts. Firstly, how are we dealing with the growth of the overall market, and secondly, how are we navigating those challenges with expansion? In terms of the growth of the overall market. It's really been exciting. I think one of the most important shifts that we've seen is actually where demand is going from, or to rather, or in how this geographic shift in demand is shaping the market landscape and our need to serve these different areas. In the early stages of Ninja Van, the first couple of years that we were doing business here in the Philippines, I think what we saw was that demand was heavily concentrated in metro areas, cities like Manila, Cebu, Davao, driving the lion's share of growth, and really where we saw e-commerce penetration to be a little bit more developed. Over the course of the pandemic, I think the biggest thing that we saw accelerate was actually demand into more provincial centers, which is really great to see. It shows that as part of the response to the pandemic, consumers had found their way online to connect with brands and with products and merchandise that they couldn't otherwise access. So it sort of forced this natural adoption curve to accelerate a little bit because people were without certain options to access these, again, goods and products they wouldn't have they would normally access through physical means, right? So this shift in provincial centers has also dramatically impacted how we've had to approach that challenge of expansion and how Ninja Van has had to increase its footprint. One of the great things about the business is we are very asset light. We've always been a technology first, digital first business, and the technology backbone that we use to power that is based on a set of web-based software and mobile phone applications. So in that way, we've always been able to deploy station infrastructure very quickly. We only need a laptop, a basic interconnection, and a mobile handset, and a couple of riders for us to open into an area. And that's allowed us to very quickly track where demand is going to and increase the scale of our operations in those areas. So we had always focused on population share coverage in the first couple of years. Now we're very focused on closing the gap on geographic share with a goal of really covering all of our consumers in the Philippines by the end of this fiscal year for us, which ends in June. And happy to report that we're well underway on that expansion path. And we're planning to open a large number of new stations over the next couple of months in order to continue to address that demand and connect more Filipinos in rural parts of the country.
Mm. So, Martin, if you can share some of the numbers, I don't know, maybe targets in percentage, or where is Ninja Van now at this point, and where do you think it's heading to?
So not sure what numbers you're specifically interested in, Ralph, but what I can share here is, one, again, we've seen this very encouraging level of overall demand across the market. We've seen that the growth in the digital economy is outpacing that of traditional retail quite substantially. I believe more recent reports show the digital landscape having grown to the tune of 130% over the course of the pandemic. For Ninja Van, I believe that our growth in volume in demand has been comparable to the growth of overall e-commerce. Fortunately, we're very well entrenched at this stage, serving quite a few of the major platforms in the market, guys like Lazada and Shopee, as well as a slew of MSMEs and corporate shippers. As far as the growth components go for our overall network, we currently have a network of about 250 stations. I see that station count increasing to between 300 to 350 stations by the end of this fiscal year. So it's quite a significant increase in station count, as you can imagine. But I think what's more relevant than just numbers here is again, where these stations are being deployed. Most couriers, especially traditional couriers in this market, follow a very consolidated station infrastructure setup, wherein their stations are located close to key cities. And as a result, inclusivity, our ability to access more provincial customers, is maybe not always where it should be as a market. NinjaVan is really focused on addressing that. So we're opening smaller facility types and much more variable facility types that will again allow us to connect these provincial consumers into this great same service network that we've deployed for our metro customers.
Okay, so there's really lots of growth opportunities in the provinces. But what about Metro Manila? Any signs of demand slowing down? Perhaps people already bought what they needed to buy this pandemic?
I don't think necessarily that we're seeing growth slowing down, right? So just because I think we're seeing larger multiples or larger percentage of growth being driven by provincial, the size of the whole pie itself is increasing, right? So our metro areas and our consumers in metro, I think, are continuing to do more of their shopping online. Even with the reopening of retail, I think we still saw quite a strong Christmas season, especially for these big double-digit sale days that the platforms are running, right, on 11/11, 12/12. I think both platforms were sharing very, very exciting numbers. And of course, the consumers in the metropolitan areas are definitely a part of that growth. As far as whether they've bought everything they need to online, uh, I think as we kind of understand from shopping behavior, right? People never really have enough stuff, right? And we're continuing to see people shop more and more, whether to improve their home lives and the work from home setups, or really just basic day-to-day necessities that you would otherwise normally source from a grocery store, from a convenience store, or what. And of course, we're seeing more kinds of businesses come online as well, which is increasing the breadth of services and products that people can access online.
Hmm. Now, Ninja Van has been around in the Philippines for just over 5 years, correct? Turning six this year. Now, can you describe the experience competing with other big names in the courier and logistics sector, especially now that everyone's, trying to keep up with customer demand? And can you point out the best qualities of your competition?
Sure. It's a tough question, Ralph. Let me maybe start by sharing a little bit about what the competitive landscape was like when we first entered the market way back in 2016. We launched as one of the first tech first couriers in market. We were really competing with very landed incumbent couriers that have been doing this for maybe 50, 60 odd years. And the market had sort of arrived at this kind of logistics monopoly, if you will, where the courier market was dominated by a couple of large names. So it was quite a tall order for us coming in as a neophyte courier, if you will, to set up from scratch and slowly open these stations and expand our coverage and customer set. Um, that was a really important journey for us in identifying really where the gaps in the market were, how we could serve our customers better. And I think one thing that's always been really important to us is inclusivity. When I come from an e-commerce background myself, and when I was working with Zalora, one of my biggest frustrations was that Courier at times didn't have the capability that we needed to deliver the kind of service that we wanted. So COD is a good example of this. COD feels very integral to our e-commerce experience now, but back in 2011, 2012, when e-commerce was just getting going here in the Philippines, it actually wasn't very commonly operated by couriers, and it was something that was traditionally really just held out for larger shipper types. With Zalora as a new business, it was something we actually had to actively work with our courier partners on to really help build this kind of COD capability. Now, fast forward a few years to when NinjaVan came into market, that was still a problem. COD wasn't readily available to a lot of SMEs, especially. And I think one of the really interesting and wonderful things about technology is how that can really democratize access to services, right? Our corporate shippers, big platforms like Lazada and Shopee, are using the same technology infrastructure essentially that we use to power the service for our SMEs. So in that way, we were able to really, I think, innovate on access, giving people access to the kinds of services, the kinds of tracking capabilities that had traditionally been really reserved for larger courier types, or for larger client types, rather. Um, Competitive landscape, as you mentioned, has changed quite dramatically. We have a lot of new players coming to the market. that Ninja Van, of course, is also having to compete against. That being said, I believe that we've really fought for our seat at the table. I think that Ninja Van is very well entrenched. We play a key role in many shipper portfolios, and we found ways to bring our technology solutions to service more client types. For example, the banking industry, where we have been able to add a lot of value to how card deliveries and these more secure delivery types need to be conducted, including allowing ourselves to capture some of the important personal information. For example, banks obviously care very much that credit cards and debit cards are going to the right person. We were able to use our photo taking capabilities that have become integral to our proof of deliveries to actually capture those IDs for them and improve their KYC processes. Now, with respect to the last part of that question, which I think is what are the good things about competition? I think ultimately the good things about competition is really that it's very good for consumer, right? We've seen that with the increasing level of demand early on to this digital evolution, I would say right around the time that Ninja Van started, there was a real underage of supply in terms of logistics capacity, and I think that really pushed down service quality in many areas. It especially for these incumbents that were very well entrenched, there was this I think mindset of why invest, why innovate, right? And competition really has spurred a change in behavior, a change in investment for all couriers to have to maintain a very high level of service in order for us to remain competitive in the market, in order for us to be preferred by customers and by shippers. So Ninja Van, I think, is proud to be up to that challenge. We obviously recognize that the presence of competition in market and the need for us to continue to innovate on things like service quality, things like speed, and most importantly on customer experience in order for us to continue to stay at the head of the pack. So, we really welcome the competition. We welcome the fight. I think it's definitely kept things exciting and interesting. And it has really given us a lot of incentive and momentum in terms of the kind of investment that we're looking to make into this market.
Mm. Now, actually, a package just arrived just a couple of days ago.
Mhm.
A Ninja Van delivery guy delivered my package to me. Now, usually these packages, if the store is based in Metro Manila, it just arrives just a couple of days after delivery. And if you're in the province, I don't know, 1 to 2 weeks maybe, depending on the volume at that particular week when one ordered the product. But I want to ask, will we see shorter delivery time this year or in the next couple of years, or even same day delivery soon? Or are there, bottlenecks beyond Ninja Van's control?
Yeah. So speed is something that we really care about and obsess over. And I know for every customer that's ever received a delayed parcel, it may not feel that way. That being said, it's one of the chief things that we track every day. It's one of the chief things that we really focus on and obsess over. So we are constantly looking for very significant adjustments to be made on speed, but day to day, there are minor refinements being made across the network, whether it's just ensuring that we're hiring the right number of riders, ensuring that we have the right vehicle types for any given area, to allow us to optimize speed across every lane, right? This is a business that's striving to reach a network of 100 million consumers all across the country. As you can imagine, the challenges in maintaining consistent levels of speed and quality across every lane that it takes to reach those 100 million consumers is no mean feat. So we look at those day-to-day adjustments as something integral to how we run the business and to how we think about speed and service quality. On top of that, I think, or maybe some of the more exciting and high-profile investments that the business is making, will continue to make to optimize for things like speed. The most exciting deployment I can share is actually the deployment of our conveyor belt system in our main sortation facility. What's unique to this brand of logistics is the need to consolidate parcels, right? We will pick up parcels from thousands of consumers all across the country. Those will converge into our sortation centers, where our technology platform is able to take over and really guide the sortation actions happening in the facility to group those parcels for the most efficient route. So the conveyor belt system actually automates a big chunk of this work and will massively increase the productivity of our workforce inside of that facility. I look at it as the most powerful and advanced tool that we can deploy, and it is by far the most powerful and advanced tool of its kind currently available in the market. The belt, when fully ramped up, will be able to sort hundreds of thousands of parcels every single day, much more efficiently and much more accurately than any other belt currently operating in the market. This should result in significant speed gains, as much as gaining as much as a day back in some cases, for us, and allowing us more delivery lead time that we can use in the field, right, for our delivery couriers and riders themselves, where it becomes a lot more challenging to optimize speed. Right, the distance traveled to a certain place will always remain somewhat fixed. In addition to this, we are also investing aggressively on things like trucks and other capital investments, to ensure that we can reach more lanes directly, right? Rather than having to run sort of a bus route where a truck is hitting many stations at one time. With this increase in demand, we're seeing greater economies of scale on us being able to drive direct routes to more rural provincial centers, and again connect more consumers in a faster way. So what I can commit to you, Ralph, and to the rest of our shopping public here, Ninja Van is constantly focused on optimizing for speed. You guys can continue to expect and hold us accountable to speed gains that we intend to deliver over the course of the next couple of months. And this will always be an ongoing pursuit for the business. I don't think we'll ever be done optimizing for speed until we're looking at near instant deliveries, right? I wanted to touch on that extra part of the question about same day. Can we ever expect same day? Same day is an interesting product, and it's one that is, I would say, not underdeveloped in Metro Manila, especially. Right, we're seeing more and more same day type of vendors come into this space, but they operate on a very fundamentally different operating model than Ninja Van, where these players, partners like, for example, Grab, who is both an investor and partner in Ninja Van, offer what we call a point-to-point service. So these are more about vehicle rental, right? You're essentially renting one vehicle to take you from point A to point B. And it's a great service. It's a great experience because, again, you have the benefit of direct delivery. Ninja Van's consolidation focus means that we can reach places that point to point otherwise could not. Obviously, you can't rent a motorcycle courier to take your parcel from here to Cebu, for example. And we can also do so in a much more cost-efficient way than point-to-point would, right? Where you're renting one vehicle for one parcel in a point-to-point setting. Consolidated logistics allows you to share that cost across many parcels. And in that way, we keep our costs down for our customers and keep the service very competitive. That being said, we have been actively exploring ways that Ninja Van can bridge into this kind of same day market. One of the more exciting partnerships we launched at the beginning of the pandemic was with Puregold. And what we identified was that really our consumers in market were having a hard time accessing essentials, especially with how tight the market was and how closed we were at the beginning of the pandemic. Our seniors, for example, were not able to access grocery stores. And I distinctly remember having this conversation with a tito of mine telling me that he's not sure how he was going to get his groceries. So we got on the phone with the Puregold guys, and we were able to put together a same day delivery program for them to allow them to connect their stores with their customers in a more efficient way. To date, we've been able to expand that network significantly. I believe we're now covering the vast majority of Puregold stores all across the country. And this is really forming the backbone for a same-day delivery product for Ninja Van. And at the moment, we're actively expanding this service to other client types, in discussions with industries like pharma, as well as expanding to for example, this banking and fintech portfolio, to allow them to access their customers in a much more efficient way in this kind of same-day capability.
Mm. Now, what about product defects? I know it's a store issue and you guys just deliver the goods, but it's your ninjas actually that face the customers. So, how do you somewhat help this? How do you help the customers and the store figure this out?
Yeah, I think you put it well there, Ralph. It is a challenging problem for Ninja, right? And most especially for our frontliners, those guys that have to engage with the customer, and at times, have to deal with the brunt of their anger when something's not totally right with their order, right? I think the first thing that I would gesture to here is really focus on buying from reputable sellers, right? In our efforts to be inclusive, we do offer the service to really any shipper who's willing to apply, and who we've had at least a good experience with, or who we believe will have a good experience with. But at the same time, you will have bad sellers leaking in, and there are fraudsters that take advantage of, I think, every logistics platform in this market, and even some of our larger e-commerce platform partners. So I think looking at the reviews, understanding whether these shippers have really credibility in market is an important aspect of consumer protection. A simple rule of thumb that I personally practice is if it looks too good to be true online, it's probably not true, right? I think the second dimension of this is really how our couriers are trained to handle these types of instances. For the public, I think we have a lot of empathy for our food delivery riders, right? And we've seen these kind of scams that our food delivery riders have been subjected to, where people will pull pranks. They'll order hundreds of orders to a friend's address or to an enemy's address or something, just as a joke, right? And consumers will band together to try to protect our food delivery riders. I think we should care about our couriers just as much, right? These are hardworking guys. They're doing at times hundreds of deliveries in a single day, and in most cases, they're doing so with a smile on their faces, right? Bear in mind that this is not the gentleman who's most often going to be the person that packed your parcel or even knows what's inside the parcel. So it's something that is well outside of their control. We provide strong back office support to the rider to ensure that they can get our customer service team on the line to help interface with the customer and ensure that we can help them resolve this experience. The last thing that we do is to try to curate our network of shippers based on this kind of consumer feedback. If we're getting a lot of complaints about a shipper, we will take the issue forward with the shipper, and we will discontinue service to those shipper types in the event that we believe that fraud is ongoing. So this has been a constant battle for us, especially with the growth of the digital economy in the Philippines. It's a very attractive space for fraudsters or scam artists to come into and try to defraud customers. And Ninja Van is really committed to try to do our part in terms of both consumer education, rider education, and of course, discontinuing and preventing service from these kinds of shippers that have demonstrated themselves to be of low quality.
Mhm. Now, you mentioned about pranks and fake orders. So I'm just curious, what's the protection? How do you protect your ninjas, your courier guys?
Well, I think it's a bit different than in the food space, right? Because COD is still a very large part of our business and of how consumers are currently paying in market. Um, with COD, naturally, there's a higher fail rate than on prepaid orders, right? Ralph, if you've ordered something and you've prepaid for it, obviously you're going to make much greater effort to try to receive that parcel than if you paid COD. Now, of course, COD also plays an important role in terms of consumer protection. But as I'm sure you can imagine, it's also subject to its own kind of abuse, right? Where it's a low investment way to order. Sometimes customers will order 5 or 6 versions of the same product from 5 or 6 different sellers, and will simply just pay for and keep the one that comes first, right? More so than being unfair to Ninja Van, that's actually very unfair to the merchants because this is a period of time where your inventory is now tied up in both the forward and reverse leg of the logistics process. And in that entire time, it's remaining unmonetized and unmonetizable. So for our couriers themselves, when it comes to failed deliveries, this is part and parcel of the logistics process, right? We have robust processes in place that ensure end-to-end tracking for both the forward and return legs of all deliveries that our couriers handle. So when it comes to a rejected parcel, it's really not an issue for our riders to handle. It's inbuilt to our systems, and they're very well trained to handle it. When it comes to I think fraud orders where the contents of the parcel is not what the customer ordered, or that the customer may not order it at all. Unfortunately, the main problem or challenge for our riders is that they're subject to the anger of this frustrated person, right? And again, as much as I have empathy for that cuts consumers' frustration, it's important that our consumers remember that, again, it's not the rider's fault, right? So as far as how
Mhm.
we try to support them, I think it really is in that back office support. A trained customer service agent is much more positioned to handle that kind of consumer outrage than a rider. And what we try to do is really help push our customers into a complaint channel where we can track this, where we can ensure that we're taking in the relevant complaint data that our customer service team can then follow up on, and if needed, that we can take action with our shippers on if it really proves to be a case of shipper fraud. Um, the problem, I think, a lot of times is that Ninja Van is caught in the middle. It's a game of he said, she said, right? Not all consumers will also be forthcoming. Maybe they're just unhappy with the product they ordered and they want their money back. Ninja Van's an easy scapegoat, right? But the reality is the true party that you need to hold accountable is the shipper rather. They should send you the right size. They should send you the color that you ordered, or they should handle the return as requested if you're not happy with the product. Ninja Van can facilitate the exchange there, but in reality, when we're demanding money back from a courier, you're demanding money from really the business that's just serving as a vendor here. So that part I think is a little bit challenging and unfair, and something that we're always looking to help educate the community on, educate our shippers on better.
Mhm. Now, where do you see Ninja Van in the next 5 to 10 years? And how about an IPO?
As far as where we see ourselves from a local market standpoint, again, we've really fought and clawed our way here to close to the top of the pack when it comes to logistics providers in this market, and that's a positioning that we intend to retain. So one, I think you can expect to see continued investment from the Ninja Van organization, the Ninja Van Group. In terms of our infrastructure, constantly innovating on both the technology level, ensuring that our systems, our platforms are continue to be industry leading in terms of the kind of product that we aspire to deliver. Secondly, inclusion, which is a really important theme for us. As I mentioned, we have a really ambitious target to cover 99+% of the population by middle of this year. We will continue to try to innovate on this level as well, increasing our service quality, increasing our speed, increasing the range and breadth of services that we can offer into these provincial areas where Ninja Van may be underpenetrated today. The last dimension, as far as really growth and investment for us, is expansion into new service types. What we've also realized is that people have a lot of options for which courier to work with. Ralph, you mentioned as well the aggressive levels of competition that we're seeing in this market. One thing that Ninja Van strives to do better than anybody else is being your best business partner, right? Being the most relevant vendor in your vendor set as an e-commerce merchant. And we've looked at ways that we can continue to improve that experience. We've made a lot of investments on things like account management, ensuring that our account servicing is at the top of the pack as well, and that our shippers have a great experience in dealing with our accounts management team. Potentially more importantly is bridging to new service types that we are looking to offer outside of just core logistics. We're constantly in touch with our shippers, trying to understand what their needs are and trying to find ways to create new service lines that help answer for those needs. A good example of this is a service that we've launched called Ninja Direct, which is our international sourcing product. What we realized is that a lot of our shippers don't have great means of accessing new kinds of inventory, new products to sell, and they're reliant on either digital platforms or even in more extreme cases, physical travel, where they will actually fly in to, for example, these great fashion markets in Thailand, pack several suitcases worth of product and fly back, right? As an entrepreneur, that's a tough means of managing your supply, right? Time you spend out of market is time you spend not running your business. And likewise, it's tough to resupply if things move faster. It's tough to test new types of inventory if you want to experiment with expanding your product portfolio. So what we realized is that in many cases, we are serving the same merchants through our affiliate businesses in Thailand or in Indonesia, and that we can effectively network in our merchants to sellers from all over Asia, including China, Indonesia, and Thailand, to help consumers access a broader range of products. So we'll continue to try to innovate at this level to try to answer for really the service gaps and business gaps that our customers are facing. Other service types that we're looking to expand this year would be products like the same day service that I mentioned, again, making this more inclusive and offering it to more shipper types. We're also looking to bridge into the warehousing and fulfillment space to support both our cross-border merchants, those that don't have any kind of physical warehousing presence here in the Philippines and would need fulfillment capabilities, inventory storage capabilities, as well as for our local merchants and SMEs who are looking to really expand their business, right? In many cases, a lot of our SMEs are starting out from their homes, and when their business starts to get a little bit bigger, they need more storage space, they need more fulfillment capabilities and speed. And by networking those components directly into our logistics network, we can both increase the speed of fulfillment and our speed of delivery, as well as taking that burden away from our shippers as far as the worry of how will I grow my business.
Mm. Now you're in the delivering service, but the most important package arrived during the pandemic. Your son. So tell us about that experience.
Yeah, it's been really a wonderful experience. I think being a first time dad. I think that there's sort of no better time to be a first time parent than when work from home culture has become very prevalent. I think it was something sort of taboo in the past, right? Where you're almost looked down upon if you're not coming to the office, you're not outworking everybody else. And especially in the early part of my career, that was something that was really important to me. I always wanted to be the guy that turned the lights off at the end of the day. And having this kind of balance from work from home has allowed me to maintain a similar level of work intensity without compromising on things like family life, right? Between meetings for my lunch break, I'm able to duck out and see my son, which is really one of the highlights of my day, if not the highlight of my day. Um, and Yeah, it's been really a wonderful experience. I think being able to spend these first 19 months with him in this more enriched kind of work from home setting.
Mm. And I actually read that you named him after Peter Parker, Spider-Man, right? So
Yeah.
what did you think of the movie? Now, I'm so sorry for our viewers here, but heavy spoilers ahead. I gotta ask you this. What did you think of the movie?
Yeah, I'm a pretty nerdy guy, which I'm sure probably comes across. I've been collecting comic books since I was a young kid, and Spider-Man's always been one of my favorites. So early on, I think back when my wife and I were still dating and talking about potentially having kids, I made sure to lock that in that I had naming rights on our first son. So my wife was very kind about it, and I think we both come to really love the name Parker, and I think it really suits him as well. As far as the movie itself, I loved it. I thought it was definitely the best of the MCU trilogy of Spider-Man movies. I'll avoid any really heavy spoilers, but Ralph, I'm sure you'll agree, it was really satisfying to see how the movie came together, especially in that third act. Um, and just really fun to see the whole Marvel universe expanding in cinematic format, right? Endgame was hard to top. I think No Way Home is a real contender for that, and I definitely had as much fun, or as if not more fun than when I watched Endgame.
Hmm. Now, going back to the name, did Grandpa Ernest Kugluk CEO approve of the name? I'm sure he must be very proud and happy. And I want to ask anything that he shared about fatherhood.
Yeah. I don't think anybody really took exception to the name Parker. We all thought it was a fun and kind of unique name. We don't meet too many Parkers, especially here in the Philippines, I guess. And in that way, it was always something important to my wife and I that he had a little bit more of a unique name. My dad, Ernest, has always been, uh, I would say, not the most kid-friendly adult, right? He's the kind of guy who'll move tables if there's a group of screaming kids next to him. So it's been really interesting to see him interact with Parker and really love and embrace the things that I think he would find annoying with other people's kids, if I can say it that way. So he's been a really great grandpa. We're fortunate enough to live in the same apartment complex. So Parker actually takes walks every day, visiting my parents in their home. My sister also in the same complex, and he bounces around her place as well. So he makes his rounds daily and gets to spend some time with all of them. And he has a standing lunch date with my dad. So my dad actually takes time out of his busy schedule to sit down and have lunch with Parker over at their apartment, which has been a lot of fun to watch as well.
Mm. Now, what about business and leadership? Any tips that he shared?
I think really I take a lot away from my dad in terms of what I get to really observe, and I have this sort of privilege of being able to watch him firsthand, having been able to see him throughout his career in different industries, in different types of roles. And obviously the work they've done with Globe in the last 10, 12 years has been really exciting to watch, really tremendous to watch. It's been truly transformational in terms of what it's done for that business. So the things that I really take away from my dad are on how he manages a team, how he builds a team and really focuses himself on making the people around him more effective rather than being somebody who's very um, micromanagey in terms of diving almost too deep and driving decisions at too granular level. So I think maintaining that right level of involvement, right, where he's always very intimately aware of what's happening in his business, down to a very deep level. But I hear often from his team, from people that he's worked with, that he focuses a lot on empowerment and ensuring that decision making is held at the right level such that the business maintains a lot of agility. One of the core values that he preaches is think like an owner. I believe it's still one of Globe's core values now. So he's brought that same entrepreneurial mindset into the team. And every person he really expects to act as a sort of a business owner for your unique part of the business, right? And I think that that level of empowerment really ensures that employees, that managers are able to function with a lot of independence, that are able to make decisions that they believe to be in the best interest of the company. And again, doing this without sacrificing this level of business understanding and kind of intimate knowledge of what's happening within the organization.
Mm. Now, thank you so much for your time, Martin. I had a lot of fun during this interview, and actually, I have lots more packages that I ordered just last night because of the recent sale, and I'll let you know my feedback on the delivery. So again, thank you so much, Martin Kuhn, Ninja Van Philippines country head. This has been another episode of Business Sense. I'm Ralph Rivas. Thanks for watching.